stand with us, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions or deletions?
Nope.
Is there a motion for approval of the council minutes from our last meeting?
I move we approve the council meetings from the council minutes from the last meeting.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by nay. Motion carries. Reports. Councilman Moulton.
Not much. There are picnic tables now at the Rock in the Glen Park, so help yourselves.
Saw that.
I don't know what's next. We gotta have a meeting. Hopefully, I'd like to see the path get
Yeah.
fixed up better, but we'll see.
Those look nice, John. Those look really nice.
Buildings look nice and the parking area and
Yep.
getting the gravel out there, nice little addition.
Yep.
Councilman Fons.
Just that I went to a joint powers meeting on Wednesday, and I did remember a teleconference. Since I missed the other two, I did listen to that. Other than that, that's it.
Kind of hard to remember Thursday
Oh, I
morning now,
know.
isn't it?
It slips by me.
Councilman Kincaid.
No reports at this time.
Councilwoman Nunn.
Yes, sir. Tamara Lehner and her staff at the library are open for business and have some very interesting plans going on. They are featuring Zoom events. Contact the library to sign up for that. And they have 2 outdoor concerts coming up. July 15th will feature the same folk bluegrass couple who did the Christmas concert. July 27th will be a hot July night concert. 4 p.m. burgers and hot dogs sold by the Lions Club, and 7 p.m. the music will start. And a grateful thanks to our volunteer fire department and the many others who assisted with the recent grass fire west of town. So proud of these people who are willing to put their lives on the line for the safety of our community. And it appears that Grant Street has been visited by a hungry bear scouting out garbage cans again. Mrs. Wobick is on the bear's case, so it probably isn't going to last. Finally, a thank you from the Converse County Hope Center. Says Town of Glen Rock City Council, thank you so much for the continued support in our mission. We are so grateful for the approval of our funding request. We cannot wait to get back to normal and out in the community. Betsy, Monica, and Rochelle. And 2 questions for you, Mr. Mayor. Are you ready?
We'll see.
Okay. All right. Is there any news on our fire chief situation? I have felt that this is a very important thing, Mr. Mayor, and should be done. But I'm wondering if the state is starting to cut employees, and we don't know much of where we're going to go with income. Would we be wise to maybe put a hold on this hiring until January 1st of 2021 to see where we stand financially?
We approved more than enough of the coverage of the fire chief and 6 firefighters in this fiscal year that we're in now. I would like to go ahead and hire the chief and let the chief hire firefighters. We're starting to see more problems with fire ground command and communication, and I think if we get a fire chief hired that's on duty every day, that we will see a lot less problems in our command and communication between all interagencies on all these fires that have been going on.
Do we have any applications?
Yes, we do. We have 4.
Good. All right, one more quick thing. The state is apparently cutting back like 20% on spending and on employees. Is this going to have any direct effect on Glen Rock?
We're watching our sales tax, and if it continues to drop, we will probably start seeing and making cuts in the fiscal year that we're in right now in our budgets.
But as far as state help or state things that go on, that shouldn't in any way affect our community?
Our monies come from sales, primarily from sales tax, where the state and county is based off of assessed valuation and other taxes that we don't get. So
If they cut employees though, will that affect us? Do you
they're
have-
going to cut certain services that it may impact us some. We might see people coming to us for help for certain things, but I don't know. Just depends on what and where the government decides to cut at.
All right,
It bothers me that they're thinking they got over $1 billion drop in assets, but he wants to spend over $1 billion to buy Occidental's property across Wyoming, Utah, and part of Colorado.
interesting priorities. Thank you.
The only thing I wanted to remind people is that the walk path is closed this
Pretty
week
much.
for work. So, it'll be open as soon as they're done with, it's just upgrade. It's just,
It's
Fine.
roll-to-mill recycling and then overlaying it.
right, so it's not really the new project stuff that's keeping it closed. It's just fixing.
They started doing some of the demolition of the ballards today and stuff, so.
Yeah.
And when's their reclaimer going to be here?
Reclaimer's supposed to be here. I haven't been told a firm day, but it's supposed to be here this week.
Talking to,
Hopefully I'll find out more tomorrow.
Any idea when it'll be done?
Reclaiming it and paving it will probably take 2 days. And it'll be open.
Because wasn't the first date June 31st?
What's that?
This is just for the, like, you're talking about the extension, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the whole
this
thing,
is
I-
separate.
yeah, but this is what
This
we're
is the
doing,
old walk
why
path,
we're-
the original.
Oh,
original
okay.
walk path we have, we're gonna, all that surface, you know how it's so
Oh,
broke
okay.
up if you've walked
Okay,
it.
and that'll just
And-
take 2 days.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
going to mill that in and pack it back down for sub-base under it. And then they will repave that, what is it, a 10-foot pave?
10-foot wide, yes.
Because that was what, 8?
Well, 7.5 where I measured.
Yeah, roughly, so it'll be a 10-foot wide. And then the dirt work is continuing on the pathway, the rest of the pathway project at this time, and dirt work and moving along. I think that they should be starting to do their boring and some conduit work here pretty quick, I would think.
They're supposed to be boring this week, from what I understood.
'Cause I thought I'd heard something about June 31st at one time.
Maybe start close in on our start date.
I think it's probably close to start date, I think, around there.
Okay.
And Jared's
Jared.
here, so he'll be giving a report shortly.
Oh,
We got-
okay.
If you didn't see that under reports we have includes the EPI,
Yes.
Okay.
so you can ask away.
Give you all the same answer.
Yep, there you go. He's paying attention. Kelly, treasurer.
Just a, sales tax did drop again. We got our check. I looked on county treasurer's site in the state, and it should, our June check is reflective of April. So hopefully, I guess we'll see. A couple weeks, see what the next one comes in. It did drop over 100,000. So it was sizable. I think we just sit and wait and see how things open. I don't know what else to do right now. We'll have to take a hard look at a few projects, probably in August, and see if we're going to go ahead or not. So,
Public Works, Randy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Crew's been busy with the garbage collection, meter pit upgrades, street sweeping, parks work, water turn-on and offs for the project on the south end of town. And had a water leak on Fir and Fifth on Sunday. So we had 3 guys out working quite a few hours on Sunday to get that water line repaired. And we are also rebuilding some of our sanders so they don't rot, and we're putting stainless steel in them. So I have a crew member doing that in Walden. North End project is pretty much complete. We did a final walkthrough on Thursday. Found a few valves that needed to be cleaned out. You just couldn't see the nut, turn them off, and one manhole needs to be cleaned, and we got another little lake down there in Platte, so they're gonna do a little work on fixing that, get rid of the water out of the curb line. And walk path's going well. Reclaiming and paving is supposed to start this week. Electricians are supposed to be here this week to start boring the intersections and start running conduit across, and then the landscapers are coming too, so I don't,
I think the
No.
landscaper's doing all the boring.
see?
Yeah, to push
Okay,
the
I
conduit
wasn't
through.
sure who was doing the boring and all that, but, also, just so you know, on the south end project, we're gonna be doing a tie-in, so water's gonna be off again on Wednesday. I will get the information to Tammy tomorrow, so we know where, for sure. And, hopefully that'll go as good as the last one did, so, and water will shut off.
Is that the third and Elk
Yes.
intersection now?
Yep, 3rd and Elk.
Okay.
And then last, I've been working with an arborist, trying to get him here. We're just trying to get a date together because Margaret wanted to go. And as soon as I told him I need a couple days' notice, so I could let you know. And as soon as we get a date going, then we'll walk those trees.
Thank you.
Any information from the AML on the Monday morning meeting?
Monday morning, this morning, yeah, I gave him an email and some pictures I got from, which I explained to you this morning about possible subsidence, but they said that's completely out of the realm of where the mines were. They will be done with 4th and 3rd Street this week. They're way ahead of schedule. And now they're asking me if they can go and start working on 5th Street. They're gonna, and then their budget, I guess, and add 5th Street to it. Boy, you guys are gonna have to do a lot of rotomill and repaving for us.
It's on the AML.
Yeah.
And they know that, so.
And I will have to, I've had 3 calls today, I'm gonna have to talk to them about the Sunup Ridge, they're gonna have to overlay that too. Because it's getting really tore up from all the drilling, so. I've had some citizens call me today, so I'll visit with them about that.
The Sunup Ridge Road's gonna need to be redone.
Yeah. So, other than that, that's about it.
Okay, any other questions for Randy?
Yeah, did we get those new grasshoppers that?
Yes.
we were-
Yep.
Okay, I didn't know if we'd gotten them, because I hadn't seen any out, so I was,
Well, they're running every day.
okay.
I
I
saw
must be
them, I've
missing.
seen them.
Yeah, because we
they're out
traded
now.
the old ones.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, the new ones weren't there running.
okay.
How bad was that leak on Fur?
It was a 10-inch break in the ductile iron, beam break, about 10 inches long.
That water was running a good part of the day. Right
Kinda
by
hard
the
to
front
shut
of my
that off,
house.
Come off the hill, that's another problem we need.
New
to
River.
I heard it.
Come.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, that's another area we need to look at, replacing some water lines. It just took so long because we had to wait for emergency locates.
Building code enforcement, Scott.
Mayor and council, since our last meeting, we got 4 new permits. I closed out 17 old pit permits. Actually, my oldest permit I finally got closed out was almost a year and 3 months old. 117 Cedars, getting an addition put on it. Williams Way is complete without occupancy permit. 307 Ash is complete with occupancy permit. And our lots and lawns are going actually really good. It's I think Sunup looks better now than it has in a long time, so we got on it early. Then a lot of people in town are staying right on top of their work also. And our next battle is going to be the alleys coming right behind us. Kind of hit that late summer, fall, give everybody a little bit of relief from the town working on it. That's it.
Is Tom Stewart still mowing that up there, Scott?
Sorry.
Is Tom still mowing the weeds up there on Sunup?
No, we got 3, well, we got several different people doing it. We mowed it too soon this year for haying, and because last year we got almost in a pickle there. We laid it down and didn't bale it up, and it got dry, and it actually got too dry to go in and bale it up. So this year I opted to mow it off shorter this year, so most of it was done by, we have Hucks that do mowing, Taylors that do mowing, Rob Bulmer's doing mowing, Dick Holman's doing some mowing. So,
Yeah, it looks pretty good up there.
yeah, yes, it's, if we leave it tall enough to where it's feasible for it, so.
Yeah, we got on it a lot sooner this year. We're not getting near as many complaints about it. And it's a good thing with the fuel and the heat and fire ban and the fires we've been having, so.
I think we made a wise choice this year, jumping on it quick.
Yeah. Chief,
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to first recognize the efforts of some of the department members who participated in the Special Olympics virtual torch run, to include some department members participated with a local resident in completing a walk for a Special Olympian. Normally we do an event here in town, but because of everything changing in the current world, it was a virtual and in some cases an actual participation. I distributed to all of you late this afternoon a policy change. It was distributed as part of compliance with town ordinance. It was a simple policy change, reference completion of reports to be more in line with the new systems we have in place. Last thing I'd like to mention is one of the things we started doing several weeks ago, but have been waiting to make sure that our process is working well, is we've created a activity summary that summarizes a department activity for a week, and we're posting that as part of the department webpage. So if you go to the town webpage and navigate to the police department's portion of that, you'll see a summary report of what we've done in the last week.
Any questions for the chief?
The policy change. What's the difference about this one? It's just more for the new system than.
It's more in line with the new system, and it also establishes some categories to ensure that we are providing appropriate documentation for incidents that we respond to.
There's no council approval needed for that change?
What the ordinance says is that that I'm supposed to make policy for the
Just
department
change
to
it?
operate, and that to provide it to the council, and the council actually can require changes to the policy if they so desire.
Okay.
Since it got out late today, everybody read it. And if you have any concerns, talk to the chief.
Wait, I guess I'll have to look at the old one, see what the difference is, I guess. I don't.
It's not that much. It really is
Yeah.
more in line with to ensure workflow is more consistent, and like I said, to ensure that we're doing some documentation on incidents that wasn't previously required.
Any other questions for the chief? If not, we'll move on to Jared in IT.
Yeah, good evening. Just working on quotes and demos for some of the new systems, like the new infrastructure build out. We should hopefully have that wrapped up and maybe something ordered here shortly. And then also working on the new website, so spending a bunch of time getting that kind of the structure built out and starting to work on getting some of the design laid out. So
Any questions for Jared? Okay, just quick for me is to thank Public Works for the sending equipment out at my request to help fire on last week on the Valentine fire. We're willing to go help them guys at any time if we can because of the late response of getting county road blades out there, so, and extra water support, so good job well done. So I'd like to thank them. You guys got that quarter-cent tax fact sheet. I wanted y'all to read it. I didn't know if you wanted to have any little bit of discussion about it or not. If you read all of it and their so-called look at distribution, I have not, I don't know how well it was received by the commissioners and whether or not they would even put a resolution together.
They voted on it already, right?
What?
On this?
No, they went to the commissioners, talked to them about it. The commissioners, I've heard two different things, whether how well it was received, whether or not they would vote on it and make a resolution and send it out to the entities. But if you read totally through this, especially the revenues and distributions,
Yeah.
it only benefits one community.
Yeah.
Not Glen Rock.
No,
Not Glen Rock, not Rolling Hills, and not Lost Springs.
no, it doesn't.
Bruce, I had a question on this. If this is passed, does it have a time frame on it, or is it just automatically forever?
It would be, all this, if what would this would be is if we would, if this resolution is written by the county, it takes 3 out of the 5 entities to allow it to pass through to the November 5th elections to add it to the sales tax.
And once it's there, it's there?
It would stay, it would add a quarter penny to Wyoming sales tax, what's collected in Converse County.
Are other counties doing this?
I think there's, I think there was one they talked about it, there's 1 or 2 that do collect a little money for that, but the enterprise group is funded by the county, I think mostly by the county, is it not, is that not true? They're just looking at trying to find another revenue because they don't see as much money come in as opposed to like the tourism board, because that's based off of additional lodging taxes and stuff. I just feel that, you know, it's a pass-through to let the voters vote on it, but after sitting and listening to it and thinking about what's going on, I have a concern when we keep adding to sales tax. We could, you know, because every 4 years, the people of the state of Wyoming vote on the fifth penny, which all municipalities and cities operate on. We lose the fifth penny, we're all in big trouble.
Well, this one doesn't benefit us at all.
I just brought it up that you can look at it. If I will make a call and talk to a few commissioners to see if they're going to move forward with that resolution. I have not heard anything on that. Have you heard anything, Russ? So I know that they wanted all the different entities to discuss it and talk about it and see what comes up with it. So just wanted everybody to read it and see what your feelings were on it.
We're funding Douglas again. So we're funding Douglas again.
Well,
It's like all our entities are all volunteers, you know, I mean,
It's by
GDC, Chamber, I mean. none of us get
population.
paid.
We don't stand a chance of getting much of a cut on a population basis.
it's just food for thought, and I will make contact with the commissioners to see where they stand with it. Moving on from there, I guess we can do under reports is CEPI.
Good evening. I am Bill Faringer, the survey manager at CEPI, and we had heard at the last council meeting there had been some questions about some of the survey projects and stuff that we've got going on here, and so thought that it might behoove everybody if we just came down here and just gave you a quick report on what we've been working on. So I appreciate your time tonight. The first project here that I'd like to talk about just briefly is Miller Lane. There's a question about whether or not we could get a resolution to dedicate that road. And so when we found out about it here a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we did spend a day doing a bunch of research, trying to figure out what is Miller Lane? Is it already a dedicated road? Is part of it? Is it a public access? Is it an easement? What is it? We couldn't find much documentation at the courthouse or anywhere else on what the status of Miller Lane is. There's a couple of really short sections on Miller Lane that were included in a couple of little subdivisions along there. That little short section was dedicated as part of a subdivision, but for the most part, the full length of it is kind of up there in limbo right now. And so we've got a title company that's in the process of looking into that. I've talked to them twice last week and then once today. They're hoping to have some information to me here in the next couple of days or so that we can review it, figure out what information they have, and then figure out what our next step is, if we can go right into a resolution or what we need to do. But so I'm planning on or hoping to get information from a title company this week so that we can move forward on Miller Lane.
I have Miller Lane. Which one is that?
Millar.
Millar.
It's Millar Lane.
Okay, I didn't know it was
The
Miller or
second
Millar.
road down
Okay.
past the park.
Oh, okay.
It's been discussed about this before. It was talked about. It was in different subdivision lets during the, and being in this entity, whether they truly, how many streets do we have in Glen Rock that were truly not really platted or actually true? So
Now, is that considered in town now? or
yes, that is.
It is considered, okay.
Millar Lane is in town, yes.
Okay.
So
And the end of it used to stop up there close to into the first roads going into what would have been Robbins' place, with that wide off, and the rest of it went around the park, and that was extended when Pittman built the RV park. And I'm sure when that got done, there was nothing done as platting or anything else or extension of the road, or it was just extended into the deal when it was done. And so it's just how things have been done by past administrations, and nobody really covered all the bases like they should have. So it's something that we're, looking at and trying to clean up, but we appreciate your time and effort. We thought we better get this taken care of.
right, and you're exactly right in your comment on some of the roads in in town here that we've been finding out, and I'll touch on a little bit of that here coming up too. The next project I was going to talk about is the Rails to Trails annexation. That's the pathway corridor, basically going from Deer Creek Park all the way down to like the Sharps building. That we're working on the annexation. We've got the surveys complete. We've done the research all the way along there as far as what's in, what's out, what has been annexed, what's been dedicated, what isn't. We've got that completed. Just Friday, we finally received information from YDOT so that we know exactly where their right-of-way is at. Our big question right now is where does the current annexation of the pathway from the west end? Because we have the line that's on the GIS, but we don't really know where that line is. So we're doing, again, working with a title company to figure out what's been annexed so that we can make sure that this annexation abuts that. We don't have any overlaps or any gaps. And so as soon as we get that from them, we can complete that plat, and then we'll have that in for the planning department and everybody else. So that is where we're at with that right now. The last one, and it's probably the biggest one that I was going to talk about tonight, is the Glen Rock block corners. We've been working on that. We began this project back in July of 2019, and we've been working on it, not steady, but pretty much pretty regular since then. And just to kind of give you an idea of what this project entails, there's the area that we're talking about in Glen Rock is over 200 blocks that we're looking at. I've got some exhibits here, just with some colors if you want to look at it, just kind of give you an idea of where we're at. Thank you. I think there's enough there. If not, I've got more.
You kidding?
There you go, Mike.
Oh, go ahead.
I've got more.
Oh, he's got more.
I've got plenty.
Scott.
Here we go.
He's not kidding.
Huh?
Here we go.
I'll share.
So, So anyhow, just wanted to give you this exhibit. The colored areas that you see on that map are the areas of town that we're looking at doing the monumentation. And like I said, it's over 200 block corners, which means that there's upwards of over 1,000 block corners.
Jeez.
I guess there's 200 blocks with 1,000 block corners or more that need to be located and or monumented. And to do that, we're going right down the lines, trying to find property corners, everything all the way down, up and down every street. And then utilizing those, we're reviewing over almost 300 plats, recorded subdivision plats that we're reviewing, and seeing what street widths are, what the blocks are, lot corners, everything like that. So we're in the process of that. And you can see the orange area in the northwest corner there. We're completely done with that as far as all of the calculating and searching. We're ready to start monumenting those corners in that area. The yellow areas, the searching is completed. All the information in the field has been looked for, and we believe what we can. And so we're working on our calculating and figuring out where those block corners are at, then we can move into monumentation of those areas also. The Sunup Ridge area there in the yellow, that area was probably the best monumented area in town because it's one of the newer ones. And so we found almost all the block corners in that area, so that'll go really well. And then the pink area, we're in the process of doing our searching and looking for corners and monumentation down in that area. And so we're moving forward kind of from west to east. And as we complete those and we get ready to start monumenting, which hopefully in the next week or so we'll be doing that up in the north area, We've got aluminum cap monumentation that looks like, it's going to look like this. And we can pass this around too if you want. It's a 2.5-inch diameter aluminum cap that'll be on rebar, and it'll have Town of Glen Rock block monumentation project, and then a year and a licensed surveyor date or a number on it. So that will go at whatever block corners that don't have an existing monument at them, we will be putting one of these in that location. In the downtown area where the sidewalks and the concrete go right up to the buildings, we'll be drilling a hole through the sidewalk and putting a 5/8-inch rebar in there, and we'll be insetting the aluminum cap into the sidewalk and epoxying it in so that it'll be flush with the sidewalk, so it's not going to get hit by snow plows or whatever else. So that's what we're working on there. Let's see. Once we've done all of the searching and everything, and as the monumentation moves on, we'll also be working on the overall plat for the whole town, and we'll prepare a survey map, a record of survey of everything that we've done through the whole town, all the block corners, the corners that we've found, accepted, and everything else, and that will be recorded, so that'll be available for anybody to go online, any other surveyors or individuals to come online and take a look at it, get copies of it, so that everybody can see what's out here and what we've been put together. In our process of doing the research on all of this stuff, we have found a number of the streets that have dedication issues or concerns with them. Most of those areas are where it's crossing the railroad tracks, the old railroad tracks, where the railroad is gone, and that the street that went across them has never been dedicated. So we may be coming back.
Back when it was a railroad, those were easements that we paid them on every year for easement across the railroad bed.
Correct, right.
When we bought them when the railroad went away, but
So
back then too, it was not dedicated.
there may be a record of them somewhere, but they're hidden in a railroad department office, and they don't share their information very easily. So we're identifying some of those areas that the town may need to go in and dedicate these street areas, these street right-of-ways for those crossings. And we'll be probably bringing that to you here in the next couple of months and pointing that out to you and moving forward with that. I believe that's pretty much the report that I have. Are there any questions about any of the projects we talked about?
Bill, I got one.
Yes.
Can you tell your guys to knock on the door next time, because I had a very hot lady come in because they moved some landscaping and she didn't know what was going on. And she didn't believe them, so she came in and jumped on me. She wouldn't give me her name or anything, so I don't know who it was.
Oh, I'll be doing, okay.
I told them what was going on. Oh, okay. So they are supposed to be doing that. I said, yes. But they put everything back and everything, but so.
Okay.
They might want to knock on the door every now and then and say, we got to dig up this hole in your yard and try to find this, so.
I will tell the guys to be sure and let the landowner know if they're doing any moving or of landscape or whatever. So, all right.
Do you have a projected time of, excluding sunup out of there, do you have a projected time of primarily when, other than sunup, the rest of the yellow would be ready to be monumented?
For like the orange and the yellow?
Yeah.
I would like to say, let me see, what is this, middle of July? I would like to say that by middle of September, we should have those areas. And I would like to think that hopefully by the end of the year, we can have this whole thing done, plat completed. That's our goal.
Okay.
Depending on weather and everything else, who knows. So, but that's kind of our goal, is by the end of the year to have this thing wrapped up.
Perfect.
Off the subject, where are we at with the splash park?
With the what?
With the splash park?
That'd
Oh,
be the other one.
that'll be Jared. Jared will be bringing that up.
All right.
Yep. So, okay, if there's nothing else, thank you very much. And if you like, we can come back every couple of months or so and kind of give you an update.
Appreciate you coming down.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I am Jared Feringer, and
I'm I will talk to you a little bit about the Short Simple subdivision. That's on the agenda for tonight, and wasn't able to make it to the first meeting. I was out of town, but kind of talk about what got cleaned up there and what that all consisted of. Was part of the pathway project that we're currently doing, and we knew that we were going to have to take a chunk of this property and replat it. And at that time, it was town property, so we were in no hurry until we were in a hurry, and for the sale of that property. And what that was, the reason we did that was so that the pathway would line up across 3rd Street or 6th Street, and so that there wasn't a jog in the pathway where you'd have to go down. So we took a 30 by 92 foot portion of that lot 2 out of the north there, and what that allowed us to do was line the pathway up, and then we'll bring it back down onto the old railroad corridor there. And for the sale of that, once we found out what needed to get done, we turned that around in a couple days and got surveyors down here, got ads in the paper, postcards out to people, and the ordinance written up. What we also found in the process there was that the lot that Short Power was currently on and the lot that they were trying to buy actually weren't even adjacent to each other. They weren't touching because of an old railroad spur there. So we were able to clean that up. And then, like Bill had mentioned, a portion of 4th Street there was not dedicated because of the railroad. So we were able to dedicate that in the process as well. Once the ordinance gets passed on the 3rd reading, we'll be able to go out there and set these corners and keep moving forward with all this. The portion that we took out of the lot was actually a little less than the portion that was added to the lot via the railroad spur that got incorporated into this. So they ended up with a little bit more land than they technically thought they were going to get, I think. So that's just kind of an update on the parts of this project that you don't get to see being built. It's happening within the office. So any questions there, I could certainly answer it. Otherwise, I can.
So their fence was not on the line or what? Down there on 6th? Because Bruce and I both were confused about, because it jogs over and it's close to the fence, but we didn't look like we had to take any property.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to take a look at that because it looks like, yeah, they took a chunk of it out of there, but the fence is still intact.
They removed it, yeah.
Yeah, so.
We never encroached inside the fence line.
Yeah, we'll talk to Andreen about that. Otherwise, the fence.
But they line up straight across the 6th Street.
Right, otherwise the fence could have been 30 feet off the line is what it looks like right now.
Oh, no.
And so then
That's why we wanted the replat of it, so that we know where all the corners were.
So then they do have the opportunity to end up moving that fence into what looks like it might be, what looks like it's town property right now, but wouldn't be. So we'll look at that tomorrow at the meeting and talk to Andreen about that.
I'll let you all know as soon as I find out tomorrow.
Any other questions for Jared? I know you have one about the town square project.
Well, let's stick to one.
So the town square, the splash pad, we're on course to button all that up by the end of this month, and with a full project, a full set of project documents, and the splash pad at that point will get bid out, and it won't be completed on a timeline where it'll be usable this year. It'll be a next year thing. It will also require some stuff with the Wyoming Health Department, which is standard for any circulating pools like that. And so by this time next year, you can get out there and get wet.
Well, it's more concerned about when we'd be able to go out to bid.
The bid, like I said, we should be wrapped up this month. I think that will give the town some time to review all that and do any changes that are necessary in the month of August, and toward the end of August out to bid with the full thing if possible, or as a bid, so.
Jared and them were down last week, and the architects, we went over a few of the, little more design and some questions about stuff about part of the buildings and that, and a few little more updated drawings. Randy's got those upstairs if anybody wants to look at them. They're getting closer and closer to that, so we should be starting to see some finished stuff that we can start putting out to the public and to the press and stuff about it.
And I think that overall board that was completed a month ago is really still very relevant. That's for the most part what it's ending up looking like. We're not making drastic changes. We're just drilling down into the meat and the potatoes, the details of this, and so that someone can get out there and actually bid a thing and build it. So as far as press or anything like that goes, that board that I gave you guys is still relevant.
So we're bidding out the whole thing?
Yeah.
Or just parts?
No, we would, when they're done with that, it'd be a total bid for the project to be started and completed.
Which is typically the cheapest way to do it.
You don't want to split it up or it'll cost you a
parsing it all out,
fortune.
yeah.
There's too much underground infrastructure's got to go in there before you build everything else on top of it, so it all needs to be done at one time.
And you pay for mobilization and bonds over and over again.
several
and
times.
Things like that, so.
So are we hoping to have it completed next year?
It should be done by sometime close to this time next year.
If we get this bid out, or if we get someone going on it this year, and depending on what the winter looks like, it makes a great shoulder season project where they can, if our winter's not too harsh, they can get out there and do foundations, they can have structures up, and by this time next year, I don't want to get out ahead of myself, but I would expect it to be done, or darn close. So. And there could be a phasing portion to where, they complete one half and then the other. So portions of it will be usable, definitely by this time. So, thank you guys. Appreciate your time.
Jared, any other questions for him?
How soon would they start if we get a bid? I mean, would they start in the fall?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, if we go out to bid in September, this is a large enough project with enough trades that need to get in on this where we would give them at least a month to bid the project. And it would be, so let's just say we have bids in by October, and then they can build as soon as they can get boots on the ground after that. And it gets approved by council first. So.
Part of the infrastructure stuff is coming in off of the 3rd Street project, which would be the water tap onto the property, sewer out of this alleyway across. Conduits across for power, IT, anything else. We're going to lay more than enough conduit, so if something comes up, we've got plenty of ways to get from here across the street without digging the street back up for anything.
Can't have too much conduit.
Yeah, never too much conduit is correct. So part of that underground infrastructure will happen. Part of it's going to happen pretty shortly.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Is there any items from the floor?
Evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Bob Nunn. I'm here to represent the golf course. I'd like to say thanks to the council member and everything that the town has done for the golf course the last several years. We have, I'm referring more to the $3,000 that was added to what we requested this year. The fuel tanks are in, complete, except for a fencing that will take place here hopefully within a week. They're full and we're using them. So the guys up there appreciate it. Members appreciate it. We've added 27 new members since this year, so I realize maybe not all of you are golfers, but come up and look at the course. It's in good shape. I'd like to say a special thanks to Scott, who, with his expertise and knowing laws and things like that, we were able to get a containment area built that had to be to where we could put the tanks down. So, thanks, Scott.
Nothing else, we'll move on to new business. First item of new business is tree grant application by Kathy and Mike Skigger, 708 South First Street. Dead tree believed to be removed.
So Kathy brought this in to me. She got 2 written quotes and 1 verbal quote. The verbal quote was not somebody that she felt comfortable dealing with. So she gave me these 2. And you can see the picture there. The lowest of the 2 quotes, the written ones that she got was $600, so they're applying for $300 out of the tree grant.
Okay, and their low bid was the $600 bid, so we do half the bid up to $500, but this would be for $300. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. To approve the bid?
Okay. Tree grant?
Approve the tree grant, sorry.
Tree grant, there you go, no
Yeah.
problem. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, any discussion?
So we supply a maximum of 500 or half.
Up to half of the bid, or if it goes over that, where it would be more than $500, our maximum on tree removal has been $500 in the past, maximum. So this one would be for $300. Any other discussion? If not, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by nay. Motion carries. Next order of business is Resolution 2020-11, a resolution authorizing Bruce Rommel, Mayor, to sign documents for property sale, whereas the governing body of the town of Glen Rock has entered into a real estate purchase agreement dated the 15th day of June 2020, and with Transmission Distribution Services LLC, doing business as TDS Construction for purchase of land within the town boundaries of the town Glen Rock, Converse County, Wyoming, whereas this is a cash purchase, and whereas the governing body desires Mayor Bruce Rommel to be the person authorized to sign any and all documents to consummate the purchase of this property on behalf of the town of Glen Rock and its governing body. Whereas the applicant contract of sale is attached hereunto, incorporated herein by reference. Now there be resolved, the governing body of the town of Glen Rock, Wyoming has a resolution authorizing Bruce Rommel, Mayor, to sign any and all of the closing documents to consummate the purchase of this property on behalf of the town of Glen Rock, and its governing body has been discussed and adopted and approved, passed and approved and adopted on the opening meeting on the 13th day of July 2020. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to pass that resolution.
The motion, is there a second?
I have a question. I thought we had already okayed this.
What this is for me to go in and do, we're actually not supposed to talk about things till we get a motion in a second. What it is for me to go in and do sign it for closings.
Oh.
Is what it's for. Do the closing, and the closing set for the, what is it, the second week in August, I believe?
And it's just for the title company.
Just the title
Needs
company.
something saying that Bruce is allowed to sign.
I'll make a second so we can, because I got a couple questions.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Now discussion.
Okay, now this is just for this property that you signed on?
Mhm.
All other ones, how is that handled?
That's only for the sale of that piece of property.
Just
That's
that
all,
one.
that's all this is for me to go in
Okay.
and
the
set
closing.
in the closing. I believe, think,
14th or something.
yeah, somewhere around the 14th, somewhere, it's kind of
Is
a
it,
set date. I think Alan Jennings is supposed to sign an I because the attorneys were gonna do it, and then the date got changed and they weren't available, so it's gonna be,
is it normal? I mean, is that how it's usually done, or does it usually go before a council and they talk about
well,
it? and then-
well, this is why we're doing it. It's just for me to go in and sign it.
Just for this one, 'cause
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all
it's
it's-
already
been done.
approved the sale. The
The
council
sale's been
voted to
approved,
approve
it
the
doesn't
sale.
have to be approved again. This is just giving me permission to set at the closing and sign the paperwork for the sale of the town of Glen Rock and bring the check back to Kelly.
And does this include that little parcel of land that,
What we
Somehow-
traded?
yeah,
What's that?
yeah, that one?
Yeah,
that-
yeah, that was not a problem. We got to looking at that when we started this ordinance, and we had looked at that plat that CEPI had brought us, and my concern was whether or not we would have to move that fence. So I took the drawing, or the maps from CEPI down and took it and sat with Alan Jennings about where we found that easement through into the other part of the property that was ours, and that if we could trade those two and if it would be any problem. And he had no problems whatsoever. He said it was fine. He said he did not want to have any problems with going forward with the pathway project, and there was no problem to add that after we had signed the document that you have there is the purchase agreement. Him and I have both. It's been looked by the attorneys, their attorneys and ours. We both went through it, initialed all the pages and signed off on that. That's the agreement that's below there that you guys have.
They're
We
separate
did that-
though, right?
What?
They're separate though, right? I mean, the documents you're going to sign are for the
Yeah, this will be
original
just,
contract.
it's just
And then we have the
it's just
ordinance.
closing documents at the sale of the purchase.
It's like buying a house.
Yeah, somebody's got to go in and sign the paperwork in front of the,
Well, I'm just glad we unloaded it, so.
yeah. It would be nice if we could find somebody at any other business that would want to purchase one or the other of some of those properties and put them back in private hands, private business. Any other discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed by nay.
Nay.
Mayor votes aye. Motion carries. I believe our next order of business is bills and claims. No, wait a minute. It's the second reading. We almost forgot. We almost forgot to add it. I almost skipped it. Ordinance number 721, an ordinance approving the final plat of the short, simple subdivision number 1, compromising 1.96 acres more or less. Passed and approved, passed on the second reading this 13th day of July 2020. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I was under the impression that there was a agreement between the town of Glen Rock and Short, TDS, or Allen about exchanging the little section of land, the 36 by 90 something and then the little strip of land that was found after they did whatever they did. Was there not an agreement between the
It was
town and?
it was a verbal agreement between TDS Properties and myself. I went and talked to him about it. We felt that we
There's no written agreement on this at all?
we didn't
That's
feel
what
there
the
needed to be.
ordinance is.
Since it's all being marked out, it's all in the plat to show that piece was added in to that as the town's, and the 30 by 96 is out that's in the plat. It's all been platted, so we felt there was no reason to write another contract when that's why we were having it replatted and make sure that the property had proper property pins and locations for the piece of property for sale.
So there's just a verbal agreement, there was no written, nothing?
There wasn't, we didn't feel there was a need to, since it was being replatted and surveyed and all the property pins set.
Well, not, Mr. Mayor, will not the 27th, the third reading, well, you're not closed yet, so it's all legal anyhow, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because my understanding it's close to the middle of August when the closing's set with.
Swear to God, you told me the 14th or 15th.
It's right in there. I've got it somewhere in an email.
But I think most of the time when you do a replat, there's not really a contract with anybody. You're just replatting.
All we're doing is replatting the size, and that replat shows that that strip is added in, and it also shows that 30 by 96.
Section removed and then the section of the town's added in.
Added in because it's in the replat and the surveying. We required CEPI to do the survey, and since they hadn't got it done before, when it was still town property, it had not gotten done before that the cost of the survey was to get done, and if they had to move the fence, CEPI paid for the cost of moving the fence, is what we did, and TDS and the town both agreed to that. But they don't have to move the fence, but it is they are setting those property corners, and it will be replatted, and the plat will be, at the third reading of this, it'll be there and given to us and to TDS so they know where their corners are for the piece of property that they've purchased.
Simple no would have been good. I said that's a no then.
That's fine, but.
No.
What do you mean?
There's no agreement.
Well, no, it didn't need to
Okay.
be. I just would explain to you what we did. There was no reason to write an agreement when it's being platted out that way and being surveyed to that position. I think that solves the problem and doesn't need a contract. Okay, moving on to,
We need to vote.
did we not vote? I thought we
You
did
did vote. You got a motion.
Okay,
a second.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed by nay. Motion carries. Next is bills and claims. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we pay bills and claims.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? When did the guys go diving in our water towers?
I was
Next
wondering
week.
about
I was trying to get it out of this next year's budget, so they sent me a contract that they're gonna be here next week.
Okay.
So I paid them out of the last year's budget.
Just so everybody knew what Midco Diving and Marine Services was for.
So just so you guys know, what they do is they dive in our tanks, they inspect them, they clean them, they vacuum them out. It's really cool to watch. If you wanna see it, I'll let you know when it's actually gonna happen. And, if they find any pits or anything, they fill them with an epoxy that can use underwater to save our tanks, so they have, and it's mandated by EPA, it has to be done every
You
5
just
years.
go down there and scuba dive.
Yep.
Yeah, they get in the tanks and
Yeah, all 5 tanks, they'll be done in about 2.5 days.
What's the water temperature in those tanks?
cold.
Cold.
Oh, it's cold,
But
really?
they're in a,
I would assume it'd been hot sitting out in the sun.
oh,
Probably about 56 degrees.
Yeah.
They dive in dry suits.
they're in dry suits, so they can't pee in the water.
Yeah, they don't get any warm and fuzzy feelings in a wetsuit. Just saying.
I knew it was coming out from somebody.
It's a sanitary application.
Goodness.
I just want everybody to realize why we were paying a diving and marine service. Any
No
other
boats are involved.
questions?
They don't use any boats, though.
Being no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Seeing that
I have one question there.
okay,
Is
now
there-
on one of these.
No, this is there
Yeah,
any
if anything
way-
else before we close it.
okay, gotcha. Is there any way you can make the 4-Aces clean up that parking lot?
Guess
That is
we
horrible.
can
Pretty bad.
make,
It's it's embarrassing.
The question is are we ever gonna let them have another shindig out there? You're referring to where the tent and chairs?
Yeah, they have the inside.
well, they said they were
tables
gonna
here,
clean it up. All they did was kind of push it up in a little smaller pile.
And the last I heard is they were gonna come in and ask for another permit to have another event.
Just so everybody knows that their Brewfest got canceled, it was on, off, on, and off.
I heard
And
that.
then they wanted to come back and just hold something in the parking lot, and since it was voted on by council in a specific design, I said no, that if they wanted to hold something in their parking lot, they had to reapply and come back with, so we knew what was going on. So it was approved by the governing body before we allow them to hold an event, not just hold whatever they wanted to, but.
I kind of thought
And they told us at the last meeting that they were going to clean that up, and they have not cleaned anything up, so.
Is the parking lot the same address as the building? I mean, yeah.
Is,
Because it's the parking lot's a separate piece, because it's divided out because of.
By the alley.
it's the same tax parcel, but it would have an official address if there was a residence, business, something established on it, receiving. It would, you're kind of fishing if there's an address that would be filed with the Federal Postal Service to say, is this the same as this?
Right, I mean, there's an alley right there, so I don't understand.
Actually, truly, that lot used to have 3 separate addresses on it, so it would, if you wanted to, it could actually have a street address, and actually an address on 4th Street, or Birch, assigned to it.
We do have an assigned address to those lots that are there.
Is there any legality on them serving food or anything across like that?
Well, it's what we addressed before, you know.
Right.
You know, a catering permit, and I know there's I think more of a gray area of serving beverages over here when the state says, if I'm correct, it has to be purchased within their establishment,
That's the purpose of special permits, of allowing them to serve outside. They're serving and beverage and food in a different location.
and they can, at that point, they can collect for that service outside, but any other time it's gotta be within their established address.
The state law, if I could add in, the state law allows for a liquor licensee to serve in an area that adjoins the business and is fenced in. So, for example, the Naughty Pine has the back patio. It's not completely fenced in, but that area on the back patio, they can serve as part of their regular liquor license.
So like the Four Aces could serve in the pull-through window area,
If they fenced it in.
if they fenced it in, it would be,
We've always allowed them to fence in their parking lot and serve out there with a catering permit and an open container.
Then, David?
But I did not want to give them permission on a permit that we did not know what they wanted to do over there after we had already discussed Brewfest, whether it would be in the parking lot or in 4th Street.
They'd have to come out and redo it.
Yeah, and I was like, no, we're not going to give you permission to use that permit with not having any idea of what you're going to do. So I
It's
told
like
them
they
to
wanted to go
reapply.
all summer.
Yep, pretty much.
Do we need to have somebody make contact with them and tell them
that
they
can
need to
happen.
clean up the
It's
parking lot?
fenced in, is what the statute says.
I'll be on it tomorrow.
That'll be his job.
is that,
You'll be on that tomorrow?
so, I guess, because what they're gonna ask, they're gonna tell me is, oh, we're planning another event. So
The chairs,
Don't
the
clean it up.
clean it up and make it look
Okay.
proper. I don't care if they take the tent down, but pick up the fence and all the chairs and
Okay, so
the.
the
There's-
tent
there's
clips,
poster boards laying on
Yeah, there's stuff laying all over out there, Stuart. Clean it up,
Okay.
so it doesn't look like a,
Be nice if they
Junkyard
had outdoor
downtown.
furniture.
He's already my,
No, it's just their old inside
What?
he's
cafe.
already my best friend.
Mine too.
Roxy. Got my personal number now.
lucky you. Is there anything else to come before the council this evening? If not, I'll call for somebody to make a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
There's a motion, there's now a second. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those